First and foremost, all thanks and praises unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Wawakakwadash. Peace, blessings, much respect to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, on down to the rest of the elders who rule well within Israel. Salutations to the hopeful elect throughout the four corners of this whole entire earth, no matter where, whom they may be, or what they may look like, pushing out this purified truth to the rest of the church who believe as well. You men who may not be teachers or prophets, you women, sons and daughters also. The water to Yahweh Shai, because without him enduring and going to that cross for the nation of Israel, and the nation of Israel alone, none of this would even be possible whatsoever. Let's go to Galatians chapter 4 and verse 16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? And many get offended when you tell them the truth, and that includes brethren. None of us are too good to get rebuked. But when you see a brother go off, you're supposed to say something. And it's funny because we're in this ministry and it seems like men only attack men they either don't like personally, or they attack men that have nothing to do with their camp or acronym. And that's not right. We are to reprove and rebuke when it comes to any of our brethren, whether they're in our camp, whether they're not of our camp. We have to pretty much judge righteously. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Let's go to Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing, and is a witness, whether he hath seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. So when we see someone going off, we're supposed to utter it. So when you hear a brother rebuking someone, whether he speaks their name or not, someone in the cut might get offended because deep down inside, maybe they feel like you're talking about them, or maybe they experienced the same thing you're referencing, but they were actually the one who was guilty. When we bring out this ministry, we can't have the mentality of being partial, because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is impartial. When I go out on the highways and byways, I raise my voice a little louder so I come off more aggressive, and people may take that like I'm being carnal, when really I'm just speaking like a man. I'm speaking like Yahweh Shai would have spoken, like an austere man. And men will hate you for that. When you touch on things or speak on things that aren't right because other men aren't talking about it, you're the bad guy now. Suddenly you're the one in the spotlight, and now you're basically destroying the peace. That's what happens when men only rebuke opposing camps and not actually judge righteously. Look at ourselves and others who express things the same way we do. No one's void of being reproved and rebuked if they're going off. And that starts with me, and I understand that. But I also make sure that when I'm around brethren, or even just in public, in everyday life, I always try to make sure I carry myself a certain way to the best of my ability to prevent having to be corrected on such a severe manner. But nevertheless, I go off. I'm a sinner. I'm not perfect. But that doesn't take away the simple fact that if something's not right within this ministry, it needs to be spoken on. And men will get offended by that. And I just don't understand how any man who is of this ministry can hear something and it makes sense and still be offended. Let's go back to Galatians 4 and 16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Let's go to John chapter 8 and verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And knowing the truth about ourselves, that sets us free. If a brother sees that we're going off, maybe we didn't know it. Maybe we didn't see it. Maybe we didn't understand their perspective until they explained it. Maybe we didn't see it until they explained it. But when somebody reproves and rebukes you, whether they're right or they're wrong, at the end of the day, the most that we can do is just self-examine and just better ourselves. Because even in this ministry, those who are teaching the same thing, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to like you. And they're going to have to take that up with Yahweh Shai at the end of the day. Okay? Because I have no ill towards any brother without cause. There are a lot of men who just do things that I feel go under the radar, and they're not being spoken on. And I'm not saying these men are not men of the Lord, but these men just highlight that there are things happening in the background, whether a man is a man of the Lord or not. Okay? And the Lord has given certain men eyes to see these things. And the truth will set us free. Somebody tells us about ourselves, that helps us, as long as we're not offended and we don't take it to heart and get all emotional like a woman. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. So we instruct each other. We reprove each other. We're not just reproving and rebuking this world. We reprove and rebuke ourselves. We reprove and rebuke our brethren. No one is too good to get rebuked. All right? Yahweh Shai constantly rebuked his disciples. Okay? I'm speaking of the 12. He would rebuke them. But does that mean Yahweh Shai was evil because he rebuked them? Does that mean that they weren't men of the Lord because they were being rebuked? You know, guys really need to, like, understand everything in this ministry is not going to feel good. Everything in this ministry isn't going to come off like smoothness and ice cream and, you know, all the pleasurable things that you could think of. There's a lot of bitterness that comes with this truth. And me being in this truth just alone, I've gone through things just alone. No brother, no nothing. Just things that I had to bear alone without having that that right hand man or just some man close by that I could you know, express these things to. Things that I had to just kind of eat on my own. And I have a woman, but nevertheless, she's still a woman. A woman can only understand a man's perspective so much, you know. But there are things that I had to go through, and it's like, dang, well, if I had all these brothers that I thought I had, I don't understand, you know, how I could feel so lonely. But that just goes to show that at the end of the day, you can't be a person who just pretends and wants to be a go-along to get along. When you speak about things, and they have to make sense now. You can't just be a tit-for-tat type of guy. But when you speak about things that make sense, somebody still gets offended in the background. A hit dog is always going to holler. I'm sure there are people who watch my videos, they get offended, they wonder if I'm talking about them. Okay? They don't hit the like button because I'm too aggressive, I'm too straightforward. All right? I have, like, just how I am, my personality in general, like even at work, I've been told I'm a hard ass, which is fine. I'm not a kiss ass. I'm also not a bully. I'm also not a man who goes around acting as if I can't be touched. I just carry myself as a man. And I also understand, being in this ministry, you can't bite your tongue when it comes to righteousness. You need to speak on things when you see something wrong. If you see your brother suffering sin, why aren't you saying something? And that's also a problem, seeing that when men do say something, he's the bad guy because it hasn't been spoke or expressed. It hasn't been spoken on. It hasn't been expressed. So when he decides to be the one to do it, he's the guy that destroyed the peace because everyone else was closed mouth. Well, I'm not a closed mouth type guy. And when I speak on things, I think I speak on things that, when I'm speaking of reproving and rebuking, when I'm reproving and rebuking somebody, whether I express their name or I don't, I think I say things that make sense. I don't just be petty and say things that don't hold no weight. I say things that make sense. And men will get offended because maybe there's something that they're hiding. I don't know. And I'm just speaking in the spirit. Okay? Let's stay in Proverbs and go to 12, verse 1. Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. So if you hate reproof, basically you're stupid. Hating reproof is a stupid thing. If a man made a video on me reproving and rebuking me because I was going off, the best thing for me to do is to, okay, acknowledge it, just hope I could get better, pray to the Lord about it, and move on. Life goes on. Okay? Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge. So if a brother has a video and it's done on him, and if what the brother is expressing is true, if the brother is expressing something that goes against the scriptures and is speaking on you, the best thing you can do is just repent. It don't mean you're not a man of the Lord. But with certain actions that men do, there are other men who may do those same actions and they may not be men of the Lord. So there's times where something may come in my head and I'll reference something and it may sound like I'm speaking of someone specifically, and it's just really the spirit. And then other times I might be speaking of someone specifically, but then I'm speaking in a way like I'm only talking to them. When I'm talking to anyone who is in the cut, who's actually doing worse, or who's, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to explain what I'm trying to say. But none of us are too good to be reproved and rebuked if we have to be corrected. It's all right. Okay? And sometimes it comes off harsh, and men get mad at that. Men don't like certain men's personality. But I can tell you this, I'm not on this to be liked at all. I'm hoping to be accepted by Yahweh while Yahweh Shai. You can take that how you want for anybody. I don't even talk to my own siblings. My own father and mother, who I love dearly, I don't really talk to like that. So what is it if any of my subscribers or whoever try to separate from me or treat me a certain way? I've been going through this my whole life, man. Titus 1:13. This witness is truth. This witness is true. Wherefore rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in faith. But then when you rebuke them sharply, guess what's going to happen? Now you got enemies. Now you're the problem. You're the guy that destroyed the peace. This witness is true. Wherefore rebuke them sharply, that they may be sound in the faith. So sometimes you got to reprove and rebuke the brethren sharply. Does that mean you hate them? Does that mean you're trying to square up and throw hands with them? Let me see. Second Peter chapter 2 and verse 18. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escape from those who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought into bondage. For if, after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter is worse with them than the beginning. So we reprove and rebuke each other in hopes to keep each other on point. We don't want to see brothers fall off. We don't want to see brothers go back to who they once was. We want to see brothers win. But sometimes there are men that are just not right. They do things that show signs of someone who's just not right. They show signs of someone that's in the world. That doesn't mean they're not a man of the Lord. It just means they need to get it together. For any of us, if we go off anywhere that can be offensive, that's against the scriptures. If we're going off, we're going off. I don't understand what's so hard about that. What's so hard to just accept about that? Why do men feel so enticed to want to take it to another level? Right? Let's go to 2 Peter's. I got to find this scripture. I know I'm close by. First Peter chapter 2 and verse 18. Servants, be subject to your masters. And us in this ministry, we're servants one to another. Let's say you've been in this truth for 1 year and I'm around you and I've been in this truth longer than you. I'm still your servant, typically. Guess what? We're servants one to another because that's how the Lord wants us to be. So if you reprove me, although you've only been in this truth for a year, hey, if it lines up with the scriptures, there's nothing I can say. If it's true what you're saying and you're bringing out the scriptures to show what I'm doing is wrong, what can I say? Oh, you only been in this ministry a year. No, that is a punk ass attitude. That is a weak ass way of carrying yourself. Okay? Whether a man is in this faith longer than you or shorter than you, no one is too good or too great to be reproved or rebuked by someone else who feels you're going off. They show you how you're going off. They read the scriptures. All you can do is say, dang, you right, my bad, I apologize. Or they might say you're going off, you're not really going off. The best you can do is say, as much as I disagree, I'm sorry you feel that way, I'll do my best to not offend you. But at the end of the day, if you're offended, it has to be lawful. If it ain't lawful, it's awful. You can't be offended at a brother because, oh, I hate how he talks, man. He talks too aggressive. The way he talk aggressive, he making me want to square up. Nah, that's weak as hell. That's effeminate.
Notification.
All right? Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the froward. And you got men, they're straightforward. They're going to hit you straight and raw. When you go into that word forward in Greek 46:46, the word is skolios, skolios, which sounds like that disease in the body that has to do with like your bones and your spinal cord, I believe. Scoliosis. Crooked, curved, metaphorically, perverse, wicked, unfair, surely, forward. So a man may come at you crooked, so to speak, like, hey, why you coming at me sideways? That's how it can be sometimes. If you got to be corrected, if you got to be reproved, a brother's personality may just be like that. And then you might be the one who's just sensitive and soft and wet around the ears. You feel like he's trying to square up with you. No, he's talking to you as a man. He's talking to you as the scriptures will talk to you. If the scriptures actually had a mouth, which we are the mouthpiece of the Lord, but if the Bible could actually speak to you, it'll talk to you the way how brothers talk to you. Some men come off more gentle, some come off more forward, more crooked, more sideways, so to speak. But this is all to keep all of us in line, to keep all of us good, man. All right? Yahweh Shai didn't walk around with a bunch of sensitive guys who are wet behind the ears. All right? We all can do better. Every last one of us, starting with me. So I'm going to go on ahead and wrap it up there and give all thanks and praises unto our power. Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Wa Rakakwadash. Shalom.